Cool.
All right. Okay, welcome back, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Again, for those who don't remember, I'm Roddy.
I'm Landy.
And once again, we have a very special guest joining us today on our podcast. And I'll just kind of let her introduce herself, and then we'll just kind of jump in and go from there. So, Emily?
Yeah, sure. Hi, my name is Emily. I am 35 years old from Washington State and currently live in Nuevo Vallarta, just north of Puerto Vallarta.
Perfect. And so,
Mhm.
what made you? I mean, I think most people may know Puerto Vallarta, but then maybe not Nuevo Vallarta. So, what made you kind of go a little bit north there?
When I first moved here, I started a job at a resort and it was here in Nuevo Vallarta. And so that was what brought me here initially. And then when I moved back the second time, I just really like this area. So I landed here. I really like that it's between Puerto Vallarta and then also like Sayulita and San Pancho. It's like right in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. We
Mhm.
so we were just there a few months ago, or about a month and a half ago. We got to visit all those areas. So yeah, I think it is a good location for that. For those who want to go to PV, and then those who want to go north to all the nice little beaches. I think that is a nice
Yeah.
little area.
Yeah.
And
For sure.
and so, what initially the first time? Let's start with the first time because I heard you went back and forth. So
Yes.
what kind of brought you to Mexico the first time?
Yeah, the first time I was in a season of life where I had some doors open that I didn't plan on. Actually, I got divorced. So it was a new chapter. And I had been vacationing in Mexico for, oh gosh, probably a year, just off and on. And I was like, I fell in love with the culture, with the people, with the weather, everything about it. And I really had this feeling like I needed to be here. People thought I was crazy. They thought like, ah, you just want to be on vacation for your life. And I was like, no, I have to be there. Um, and so I applied. I was actually on vacation at a resort and I saw all of these Americans working there. And I was like, how do you guys get a job here? Like I want to move to Mexico. Um, and so I ended up applying for a job, and that company moved me here initially. So they paid for all my housing and my visa. They don't do this anymore, unfortunately. This was 5 years ago.
Oh,
Um, yeah, pre-COVID and all that stuff. So I lived here then just for a year and a half, and then really wanted to go back to my career, which is therapy, like psychology.
okay.
Um, and so I went back to the state to set myself up to just work my practice remotely. So then I was there for 2 years getting that set up, and then I came back here 2 years ago.
Came back 2 years
Yeah.
ago. Okay.
Wow.
And so, I mean, was it? You mentioned something you kind of had your practice set up, and so that's why you kind of felt comfortable to go back.
Yes, right. Yeah. So when I went back to the States the first time after living here, I just set up my own private practice in mental health. And then now I can run it remotely and I see my clients remotely. And when I'm in Washington State, I do see them in person just a couple times a year.
Okay. And so I think it's kind of interesting because,
Yeah.
you mentioned when you first moved, one of the things you kind of mentioned was a lot of people thought you were kind of crazy, which I think a lot of people, when they
Yes, for
have
sure.
friends or family, who are thinking about moving to Mexico or anywhere abroad, I think they kind of have that idea of, why do you want to move to Mexico?
Yeah.
You mentioned a little bit about maybe the
Big time.
culture, but were there any concerns or questions that people who
Hmm.
talked to you had about the idea of moving to Mexico? And what were some of those?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Definitely there was concerns about safety. That was the biggest one. I'm sure you guys know that.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think it was questions about safety and then also questions about like just why I felt like my life in Mexico was so much better than my life in America. And it's still really hard to explain to people who haven't experienced it. So yeah, I think those two main areas to answer your question.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's pretty,
Mhm.
like you said, I think for most people who've moved to Mexico and talk to family and friends, that does tend to be one of the big things
Yeah.
they always talk about is, oh, the safety there. Yeah, so
Yeah.
how have you felt, Jalisco. Well, I guess you're not in Jalisco, right? And Vallarta,
Nayarit.
Nueva Nayarit.
Nayarit, right?
Yeah,
So
no,
again, how
Nayarit,
has
yeah.
the safety been there? As far as you felt, again, for your own personal
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I have felt super good. And I've been in other places in Mexico as well. Here in Nayarit and Jalisco, I feel so safe in both places. Um, I always tell people I'm from like close to Seattle, and I always tell people it's like the same thing. I mean, just like when you're in Seattle, you're not gonna go down an alley dark at 4 in the morning with a stranger. I mean, but overall it's super safe here. And I've never had any type of situation. I've always felt good. The only place my car has ever been broken into is in Washington State, so yeah, it's been good for me. And even, I think people often bring up like, oh, wow, like you're a single young white girl living in Mexico. Isn't that really dangerous? Just because of my singleness and my girlness, I think, as we deal with in our culture, right? People are often concerned about those pieces, but I've just I've never had an issue, thankfully.
Yeah, so, yeah, right. Yeah, cross the fingers,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've
And
always
so,
felt very protected by oh, sorry.
go ahead. You
I
felt
was just gonna
protected
say I've
by.
always felt really protected by the communities I've been in. Like very, very welcomed. And I lived in San Pancho, which is just, you've been there, yeah?
Yeah.
Just like an hour north of PV. Um, and I felt it's a really, really small community. And once they know that for me anyways, once they knew I was living there and kind of integrating into their community, the local people and the expats, like everybody just really rallies around me, and I've always felt super supported. So yeah, it's cool.
That's great.
Yes, Zambancho is very nice. We traveled there just for half day, but we really feel the very chill
Yeah.
vibes there. And the
Yes.
beach there is gorgeous. And
It's so
yeah,
beautiful.
we
Yes.
find that that's one of the prettiest water in the whole area.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And the sky there at night, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Oh, really?
We should check it
Yeah.
out.
Unfortunately, yeah, we weren't there at night, but like I said, we were there just for such a
Yeah.
short time. But even in
Mhm.
that very short time, we really did enjoy it. Like you said, it kind of has that very kind of laid back, very chilled vibe. Small
Yeah.
town, little pueblo, whatever you want to call it. Oh yeah, we really did
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed it.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
another thing you kind of again about that, singleness or being single in Puerto Vallarta. So I think for a
Yeah.
lot of people who may move down there, they may be single, whether they're vacationing or not. Could you kind of speak to that experience? What was it like, being single? Like I said, nightlife, dating life. What was some of the good and bad?
Yeah. Okay. So I've had a blast, really. I've had a blast being single here. There is most definitely lots of nightlife, which I really love, single and partnered. There's lots of dancing. That's another thing. I felt super safe going out at night, dancing, being single. Um, dating here has been interesting.
Has it been a mix of like foreigners and local?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's been a mix of, yeah, people traveling or like here for 6 months, who are foreigners, and then a mix of locals or people who are living here, but are from some other region in Mexico or
sure.
area. Um, and yeah, there's definitely been some adventures along the way, good and not so good. Um, um, so, yeah, I think that generally speaking, I have found a lot of community. There are a lot of single people here traveling through, whether they're living here, like the expat community, or traveling through, for a couple months or for 6 months or whatever.
Yeah,
And I've always found it very easy to connect, with friends too, to make community here. And
sure.
then there's definitely a dating scene.
Now, would you kind of say, because again, we always talk about how culturally it's different between the United States and Mexico. Is there definitely, would you say there's a noticeable difference between how locals or Mexicans date towards how Americans might date, or is it kind of similar across the board?
Interesting. I haven't Is it different than most definitely? I don't, okay, I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if like the dating scene in general is different, but to be honest, my story is that I was married when I was 20
Uh,
and then lived a married life. Like I've never really dated anywhere else other than
okay.
Mexico. Because I married my high school sweetheart, so like I just didn't really
Okay.
date.
Sure.
Um, I think most definitely there's a cultural factor, and but I think that's worldwide. If you're dating someone who's of different culture or different ethnicity, there are always factors there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's very helpful feedback.
Well, no, well, I think you make a good point,
Uh-huh.
because, like I said, having married so young, from high school, right? You never kind of experienced the dating life in the United States, so it is hard to, I
Yeah,
guess, to
True.
talk about the
compare.
differences if you may not know. But as long as you've
Yes,
had fun, and got to experience there, that's great. And so,
yeah.
what about cultural, just differences? Was there kind of a culture shock when you first moved to Puerto Vallarta? I know it's kind of considered a little bit more of a foreigner kind of expat friendly
Yeah,
area, but were there still
right.
some adjustments you had to make when you first
Uh-huh.
moved there?
Most definitely, yes. It's funny though because I actually after living here for a year and a half or 2 years the first time, I feel like I actually had a lot more culture shock and difficulty adjusting when I went back to America, which is interesting. It felt really hard and everything felt really rigid. And I felt like I was moving into like really a lot of hustle culture and
Mm.
just, it was, that for me was more, alarming or jarring than when I moved to Mexico. I think the things I've had to adjust here are definitely time. I'm sure you guys hear that all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like if you're gonna go to the bank here, then you need to plan for like hours
Yeah.
potentially at the
Yeah.
bank,
Possibly.
Yeah.
just like systems in general here, like guess systems with visas and systems with anything bank related, anything system related to government. And I hope that doesn't offend anyone, but it's just been my experience, has been slow and complicated and just a lot of hoops to jump through. Um, I think another thing that I've had to adjust to is like sometimes I've learned kind of how to navigate this now, but I didn't know initially when I moved here, that the local people would just tell me yes to questions I had, when in reality they didn't know the answer or it was a no. And so then I have had to learn how to like navigate systems and actually find what the real answer is. Sometimes it takes a little bit to figure that out. So that's been an adjustment for
Yeah, I
sure.
think that's the Mexican C culture. Everything C, yes, they just don't want to say no to your face.
Totally,
Right.
totally.
Anything C sometimes just means nothing. Like we have
Right.
experienced that in the restaurants or
Hmm.
with
Mhm.
people.
Right. And
Yes,
even from another
Yeah.
guest, a few
right.
interviews ago, they mentioned
Hmm.
the exact same thing.
That's the
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, so it does seem to be a theme, throughout Mexico, whether we're here more central Mexico or in PV. So again, I think that's something that people
Yeah.
who may be considering moving here need to understand, because again, it maybe if we've heard it once, okay, but we've experienced it ourselves, we've heard it from other people, and now yourself.
mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
be prepared, and I think it's because they want to be friendly, inviting, and they want to seem
Totally.
helpful.
They value hospitality and
It's well intentioned, but sometimes it can
yes,
actually lead to further delays.
big time. Yeah, big time.
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, and I think we've kind of speaking to the reverse culture shock. I think that's something we kind of experienced ourselves. Our story is, we did go back to Houston. We ended up staying there for 7, 8 months, and then after that time, we were like, no, we can't stay
Yeah.
here. It's just like you said, everything
Yeah.
just felt so rushed, and just there was this kind of felt like there was a pressure on everything. Um,
Hmm.
on top of bills being just crazy more high, expensive, and
Yeah, for sure.
everything. As soon as we came back, everything just felt so much more relaxed and peaceful, and just like a weight take off your shoulders.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, I think
Where are you at
after
now?
In Querétaro.
yeah, Querétaro,
Oh, okay, cool.
central Mexico.
Have you been here yet?
Yeah. No.
No? Okay. It's definitely also a very nice laid back vibe. Very nice weather. Very nice weather.
Cool.
After being in PV for a month, we were like, oh, it's good to be back.
Yeah, it's a good break.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So no, we really enjoy it. And I say it's just you come back and get that pressure off you, and just it makes life a little bit easier and more enjoyable, I think, in general.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Yes, you're gonna say something?
No, I forgot. No, I said yeah, I was
Sorry.
planning to say that, especially after we are so used to the bill here, other supermarket, other
Yes.
mercado, other food, the restaurant here, the water
Yeah.
bill, electricity bill. Then you go back to the US, you see the $100 bill, and you go out to
Yeah.
just order normal food and a $50, $60 already, and then just
Yeah.
feel I'm not used to the life there anymore. Plus the
Totally.
weather. Yeah, and
Hmm.
that's for us. I think that's for most people will feel the same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We were like I've mentioned to other people in the past. We came running back to Mexico. Like once we
Yeah.
kind of made that decision, it was just like,
Yeah.
no, we're going back, and we're definitely going to be here for a good long while. Just because there's so much
Yeah.
more we enjoy here.
Yeah.
And so also you mentioned going back earlier
Mhm.
in the conversation, you had talked about kind of traveling through Mexico. You've been to some other places.
Yeah.
So what are some places that you've been to? Are there some places that you would maybe recommend? Maybe some places maybe you say, nah, I wouldn't. Maybe not go there. At least
Yeah.
in your opinion.
Yeah. Um, okay, where have I been? I've been to like the majority, like the bigger touristy spots, like
Mhm.
Cabo and Mazatlan and Acapulco, Tulum. I've spent a fair amount of time in Tulum.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Riviera Maya, like Playa del Carmen, but that side.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
And then I have not spent a lot of time in inward. I'm going to San Miguel de Allende next week, so that's
Oh,
gonna be cool in Guanajuato. Um, I've been to Guerrero, that's where Acapulco is, and I
right.
went
Escalelo.
more, yeah, I went more inward, like away from the coast.
Okay.
And that was I'm thankful for the experience. And also, if there's anywhere in Mexico I've been that I was feeling unsure about my safety, it was there.
Okay. Where
Um,
in Guerrero? I know you said you went a little inward. Like where roughly? Like how far inland did you go to Guerrero?
yeah, it was like a couple hours. I don't even remember the direction. I don't even remember the name of the town. I'm not joking. It was a couple hours from Acapulco. Let me look
Okay.
it up.
And again, so what was it that made you feel uncomfortable? Was it just a particular story, or was this kind of an uneasiness of the area?
There were a few stories that I heard once I got there. Um, I was the only white person for like miles, and
Uh-huh.
which doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, you're unsafe because you're the only
Sure.
one of your ethnicity or culture or whatever. And it was uncomfortable just because I was like definitely like an alien in a foreign land, and so there was just a lot of extra attention that I wasn't comfortable with.
Okay.
And then I heard some stories and ended up meeting some people who said, hey, like you might not be safe. I would
Really?
recommend not talking in English. And yeah, so that wasn't, I don't recommend it.
Well,
So what made you go there? Did you go with a friend, or what made you plan
Yes,
to go
I
there?
was dating a guy
uh,
who had family there.
Oh, I
And
see.
so, yes, when we got there, his family was, I mean, super welcoming and
sure.
also not super comfortable that I was there for my safety.
Wow.
So,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think it's important to mention that
Yeah.
even locals in the family
Right.
were uncomfortable. So I know sometimes people have that mentality, like, oh, you think because you're just American, you think no. I mean,
No,
obviously
the
these were
locals
locals
told you.
were
Yeah.
telling you to be concerned for your
Mhm.
safety, right? And I think that
Yeah.
speaks, volumes of the possible situation that could have occurred.
Right.
Right,
But it's
right.
good you went with the man together, family, not definitely
Yeah.
not by yourself.
Yeah, and because that's
No,
we've
no.
even we've even heard of like Acapulco. I know Acapulco back in its heyday used to be
Uh-huh.
the wonderful, beautiful place, and I'm sure it still is by
Right.
the resort areas. But I've also heard, that is considered one
Yeah.
of the most dangerous cities in Mexico. Once you kind of get
Right.
away from the resort areas. Did
Right.
you kind of stick to those little resort areas? Did you travel outside? Yeah.
We did, yeah. No, we didn't travel outside much. Actually, when I was in Acapulco, I was just there for 2 or 3 days in
Oh,
that
okay.
same trip, and I actually was very sick the whole time. So we were like just in the hotel. Um, and and yeah, I mean, I think it is fair to mention that there are places that aren't safe, to
Sure.
go in
Mhm.
Mexico in general. Um, and I think that was one of them. So,
Yeah.
Right. And then
yeah.
I know you mentioned you've been to a lot of other like kind of beach town areas, and
Mhm.
I think a lot of them are pretty well known. Cabos and of course the Maya Riviera. But
Mazatlan.
maybe Mazatlan is
Uh-huh.
kind of one of those kind of in between areas. I mean, we haven't been there ourselves. We do have it
Mhm.
kind of on our list. What was Mazatlan like?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mazatlan it was okay in my opinion. I have no desire to go back there. Not because it was like unsafe or there was anything wrong with it. For me, I didn't find the ocean as beautiful as
Sure.
the other beaches that I've been to in Mexico. And it just wasn't I just wasn't super impressed with the food. I wasn't super impressed with
Really?
the nightlife. I just wasn't super impressed with um a lot of it. So, and it again, it's not that it was bad. It just
Sure.
wasn't like extra cool or extra good compared to the places that I've been.
Right.
Yeah. So I also spent a lot of time in Guadalajara and like Tlaquepaque, just next to
Like a bucket.
Guadalajara.
Right.
Yeah, like 6 weeks or so. So that's different than the beach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tlaquepaque was pretty cool.
Yeah.
We did go to Guadalajara in that area, and we
Yeah.
really enjoyed that little part of town.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of little
It's
small
cool.
old town feeling right in the middle of like a big city.
So
Yeah.
I have a question. Why you didn't choose Los Cabos or Playa del Carmen area? But why you picked PB? As you said, you didn't like Mazatlan so much. But why
Yeah.
PB, not other beautiful beach towns?
Yeah, yeah. I love PV. I love the combination of mountains and
Mhm.
beach.
Yeah.
I love that we have access to the ocean, and then also I have access to go hiking or go like be in the forest and be in the jungle. Um, I also, I just, there is something about this bay, the whole bay, that really, I don't know how to explain it. I really don't. I just feel this sense of home and like nurturing here. And I think it has to do with the land and with ley lines. I don't know. Have you guys read about the ley lines in TV?
Lay life?
Ley lines, Ley lines. You should check it
Mm-mm.
out.
No.
It's yeah, it has to do with like energy and physics and that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
So it's fascinating. In Vallarta, there is a particular structure, and there are 8 ley lines that cross here, which are a lot. I'm most definitely not a specialist in it, but I love the vibe here. And I also in Cabo, I didn't really like it's more of a desert. Well,
Yeah,
obviously.
it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then Tulum and that side in general, my experience there just didn't feel as like local or genuine, which is interesting
Sure.
because I mean here it's also there are lots of foreigners here. Just like there are lots of foreigners over in Cancun or in that area. But my experience over there was that it was a bit more it felt more touristy to me than how it feels here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I understand. Yeah.
Especially for Cancun, lots of the tourists go
Yeah.
there for all-inclusive hotels, vacations.
Yeah.
PB is
Yeah.
more like a different kind of tourist vibe. Even there
Yeah,
are
and there's
some
more
tourists.
Airbnbs and local
True.
spots. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, kind of going back a little bit because you kind of piqued my interest about
Sure.
about the ley lines. I know you said
Ley
you're not an expert, but how would you
Yeah.
describe what is a ley line? what does that mean? What is that?
I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it.
Okay, it's something we need to
Um,
look up, I think.
Yeah.
yeah. Yes, look it up for sure.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, 'cause I've never heard that before, so now it's kind of like, what is that? What does that mean? Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I've met like along my way, I've met and out like living in Sayulita and San Pancho, there's definitely more of like people who are very into different healing modalities. And I'm
okay.
like, of course, very drawn to that because I'm a therapist. And so I find it all really fascinating and different energy work. And I don't know if you guys have experience. Do you have experience here at all with different like healers or energy people or shamans or
Never
not
personally.
yet?
No, no.
Okay. Okay. So that's like a whole community here and in this. Oh yeah, okay, we're good. Oh no,
Yeah.
sorry. I broke your that's a whole community here of people and a whole experience. There's just lots of different interesting work and ideas about energy and healing and
Sure.
yeah. So that's how I came across the ley line
And
idea.
have you experienced or done any of those kind of spiritual healings or shaman work there in PB?
Yeah, more of it has been with people from Vallarta. More of it has been out in Sayulita and San Pancho, that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of experience, if we may, like, what was the experience or what kind of work was it? Or
I do work with the rocks, the incense, the water, or full moon thing.
All of it. Yes,
All
all
of
of
it.
it. Yeah. The four elements for sure. And I've done a lot of breath work, like holotropic breath work. And I've done ceremonies with shamans and they have cacao ceremonies or they do ceremonies with marijuana. I've done ceremony with a lady who she has a place in Vallarta where they have all sorts of different offerings. And Reiki, I've done Reiki.
okay.
What else? There's another lady I worked with in San Pancho. Um, and they did, I can't even, this was like probably 3 years ago. I can't remember the name of it. It was really interesting, and they were like moving energy around in my body, to heal. And gosh, I can't remember the name of it.
That's nice. Wow.
It was all yeah. They were trained in Eastern medicine,
Oh, okay.
so
Nice.
yeah.
Okay.
And for people who plan to go to PB area, do you have your favorite beach and beach town to recommend them have to visit?
Yeah, my favorite is San Pancho.
Okay,
Okay.
same here. We love San Pancho.
Yeah, I love it so
Compared
much.
to
Yeah.
Sayulita, the vibes is more chill.
Yes, for sure. Silent is fun just to see, but it's so crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always tell people though, the beach in San Pancho, depending on the time of year, is you can't always swim in it. 'Cause the ocean, the waves get so big. But the whole town, I mean, it's just super worth the visit. It's my favorite spot to be for sure.
And
In Vallarta, oh,
uh-huh.
sorry, go ahead.
And which one is your favorite beach?
What's that?
Your favorite beach?
Yeah, my favorite beach is like out toward Conchas Chinas, that
Conchas Chinas.
area.
Oh,
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Almost
It was
outside of PV.
I just try to see if we have the same favorite beach.
Yeah,
We,
the
we
one I
like
went to
the Hamela.
Melas Beach. Have you been there?
I don't think.
It's
Where
a
is
little
it?
further down from Puerto Chinas. If you just keep going, maybe less than 10 minutes down the road, you get a
Okay.
Melas, which there's a couple of little like condo hotels there, very small, but the water was some of the
Okay.
prettiest views. It almost felt very Caribbean. Like the
Yeah.
water was kind of that very aqua,
Yeah, the water
greenish,
gets
very
very blue.
yeah.
Yes.
It was
Maybe
quite
that's a
impressive.
similar area she talked
Oh yeah,
about.
like
Yeah.
Conchas
It
Chinas is
is.
right down the
Yeah.
road.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we loved
Yeah.
it.
That's why I like it. The water there is so beautiful.
So it's always nice to talk about all the beaches and all the good stuff in Puerto Vallarta. But
Mhm.
I think also some people may want to know if they consider moving down to Mexico or Puerto Vallarta in general. I know PB can be a little bit more expensive compared to other parts of Mexico. But
Yeah.
maybe like daily living, or maybe cost of living, I should say. Maybe on
Sure.
average, in a month, what would someone maybe expect to pay in a month? I know we understand things are going to vary from person to person, but maybe what would be a good average? What are
Hmm.
the things you may spend on? What are your little pleasures, extra pleasures you may spend on?
Yeah. Oh gosh. So in a month, maybe it depends on the months, and also
Sure.
it depends on what extra things I'm spending money on. I'm pretty good at spending money. Um, so I think I can, do you want me to just talk about like rent and like what expenses
Yeah,
actually
like
are?
we can also start with just like how much you pay
Right,
and what's the
Yeah,
average people pay for 2 bedroom or 3 bedrooms.
right.
sure,
Or what
yeah.
do you
Yeah.
have, right? So yeah. So what, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, what perfect example, what do you pay for rent?
Yeah, okay. So where I live right now, I pay 14,700 pesos per month.
Okay.
So it's about in US dollars right now, it's about 850-ish.
Uh-huh.
When I moved here 2 years ago, I was paying 700 per month for the same unit. And where I live, it's a new development. It's in Nakoto. So I don't know if the people watching know what Nakoto is. It's like a, a collection of apartments or condos, and they
Okay, right.
have so we have 24/7 security, and it's gated, and there's a pool. The grounds are super beautiful. The apartment I live in is newer, and so it's more modern,
Uh-huh.
comparatively to some of the other places that I've seen.
Sure.
Um, and I know that what I'm paying here, living in Vallarta for the same quality and the same amenities, like there's a washer and dryer here, and the kitchen's nice, and there's a stove, and there's an oven. I don't know if you guys have stayed in lots of places in PV, but lots of places don't have ovens.
Right.
Yeah, lots of places don't have washer and dryer. So those things were important to me, and pantry storage, like it's just good living for it's comparable to the States, just in terms of
Sure.
the space and what they provide. And know that if I were to transition to Vallarta, I think for what I'm paying here, I think I would pay like 22 to 28,000 pesos per month,
Right.
depending on the location.
Right.
So just to give people like a
Yeah. So how big is
estimate.
your apartment? 1 or 2 bedrooms, and what's the size in
Oh
square
yeah, sure.
footage or
It's
meter?
Yeah, I don't actually know the square meters. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there's the master bedroom that has an attached full
True.
bathroom. And then I use the spare bedroom as my office.
Nice.
And then there's like a laundry room, and then kitchen and living. It's like an open concept kitchen, living, dining room. And then there's a little balcony.
And I think that's important for people to understand, yeah,
Right.
because Puerto Vallarta, the city itself, is very much more expensive than other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we looked around and we saw some places that were for sale, and definitely for what you're describing, what we could tell, it would definitely be, like you said, almost double in Puerto Vallarta as
Yeah,
compared to
for
Nueva Vallarta,
sure.
right?
For
And
sure.
again, you're definitely getting that newness and that nice little community
Right, right.
there,
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
Nueva Vallarta.
yeah, the newness factor, which for me, I really like the newness factor, that it's new and clean and modern and everything's efficient. Yeah, paying for that in Vallarta is definitely more expensive.
How far from your apartment drive to the beach?
Oh, just like 5 or 7 minutes, depending on traffic.
Oh, okay, that's
Oh.
good.
And how
Yeah,
far
yeah,
did
it's
you want to
close.
go to Puerto Vallarta?
So oof, you know what? Traffic from here to Puerto Vallarta
Yeah.
um has gotten really annoying, to be
Really?
honest. Yeah, when I first moved here 5 years ago, it took like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. So when there's
Okay.
no traffic, it's quick. Like
Yeah.
it's an easy 30 minutes. When there's the other day, it took me 90 minutes to
What?
get,
What? Wow.
yeah, to get
That rush
from
hour? A
it
weekend?
was. It was rush hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Nueva Vallarta to Versailles, like Costco area, which is just
Oh,
like
wow.
that amount of time was insane.
Right, which is
Yeah.
kind of more on the northern end of the central
Mm-hmm.
part of Puerto Vallarta, that Versailles and everything. Just people may
Right.
not be aware. So yeah, you weren't even going into the central part. That might have been another
Right.
Oh,
10
yeah.
minutes or so.
At least another 20
Uh,
minutes to get to
yeah,
Central. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I know it can definitely get busy. I know just a few times we went around the airport, it always seems to kind of get busy, right?
Yeah.
That's where it tends to
Yeah,
kind of
right there in Las
congest.
Juntas, right before the, yep, yep.
Yeah, and in PV, you do need to turn on the AC units most of the time, especially when you're
Yes.
there. So how much about
Yes.
your electricity bill cost a month?
Oh, okay. So, like in the low season, when
Uh-huh.
it's really hot here, like right now,
Mhm.
I paid my electricity bill with 2,000 pesos for 2 months. So a
Oh, for two
thousand pesos
months.
per
For
month
2 months.
Oh,
Okay,
for
that's
two
not
months.
too bad.
oh yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the most that I'll ever pay here. Like in the most of the year, like October through April, May, my electricity bills, which come every other month, are anywhere from 400 to 800 pesos, a lot less.
Oh,
Right now, I'm using the AC like 24/7 in most rooms.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and so just so people understand, right?
Yeah.
Like, about how much is 2,000 pesos now?
If you divide
It's like
70.
120-ish,
120?
yeah.
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 So again, I know people always talk about that's the high season, but you're still talking $120
But
again.
that's for 2 months,
For two
right?
months.
So each
Right. So
month
For
is
2
$60,
months.
right?
yeah, still not
So
bad.
as compared to
And
back
that's
to
the
the
most
US,
you'll ever
just to
pay.
make just to make that kind of comparison back to the
Mhm.
US, to pay $60 a month is just absolutely unheard of.
Totally,
So yeah,
totally. And then when you go to like December and I'm paying 200 pesos per month, it's like $12 a month,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So don't be so afraid of Puerto Vallarta's summertime or all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
As far as
it's
turning
too
on the
bad.
AC.
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
and then the other expenses I have, I pay for gas because
Sure.
like the water heater and the stove is gas, and that's like anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 pesos every like 4 to 6 months, depending on how much I use it. So that also super low.
Sure. And
Mhm.
then how about eating?
Yeah.
Are you more like stay at home kind of person? You like to cook, or do you like to go out and eat?
Yeah, it varies. Right now I'm in a season of cooking more at home. Um, I the grocery, my gosh, I don't even know. I mean, I know compared to the States that it's way less.
Sure.
Um, I bet if I go to the store for 5 days of groceries, I spend like anywhere from 500 to 1,000 pesos.
Okay.
I tend to eat I tend to buy expensive food for this area.
Sure.
It's most definitely possible to spend a lot less on groceries and food.
And
That's
a
just
thousand
not
is still
me.
not bad, for
Yeah.
almost
No,
a week.
it's amazing. Yeah, in the
And that's
States
on
you
the
would
high end.
oof. Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And how about a car? Do you own a car? I assume you said you drive into town.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I ended up selling my car in the States. I did look at bringing it here and decided against it because getting it licensed here, it was new and I don't know if you guys have learned this system yet, but getting it licensed here because it was new was gonna cost a lot of money and it was a difficult process and I just was like, ugh. So I sold my car in the States and I bought a car here.
Yeah.
And it's a little Honda CRV.
Oh,
When I
nice.
was car shopping, I don't think that the price of cars, there really wasn't a whole lot of difference when I was looking for the States compared to Mexico. For newer cars, I actually found like brand new cars, I found them for less
Oh.
in Seattle
Oh, okay.
than they were here. So
Sure.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since the
Yeah.
dollar and the peso exchange rate dropped a lot, so is that
Yeah.
how you adjust a little bit, or you're still comfortable with all the expense?
I'm comfortable for sure. I mean, it has most definitely gone up, the cost of living here, compared to, of
Mhm.
course, I mean, compared to when I moved here 5 years ago. Um, but yeah, it still feels really comfortable for me. And I still, I have much more freedom here financially than I would living in the States, that's for sure. And that was part of the reason that I came here was because I don't want to work an 80-hour work week just to
Mhm.
survive. And
Yeah.
I just had no interest in that system and culture. And, part of that is money for sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
less
not like
spending,
not wanting
less stress, more easier
totally
lifestyle.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
also notice any big inflation happening in Puerto Vallarta, like eating out or even in the local fruteria, the small fruits, vegetable shops, price goes up
Yeah,
or
the
drink
price
price?
on food has gone up for sure. That's
Yeah.
for sure. In like everywhere, groceries, restaurants, bars, the little fruterias,
Yeah.
everywhere. I mean, there are still places where I know I can get better deals than others, but yeah, for sure, food is going up significantly. And you can still go to a really nice restaurant here and spend $100. And if you got that same dinner in a Seattle downtown restaurant, you would easily pay 300 easily,
Wow. Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah,
And I know you said you kind of on a schedule today, so I do want to talk very quickly,
yes,
just because I think a lot of times people want to possibly move and maybe do what you do in the sense of working abroad, right? Kind of remotely. And so, how has
yeah.
that experience been? As far as transitioning your business, working in Mexico
Mhm.
remotely. How has that been? What has that experience been like?
Yeah. For me, it's been really, honestly, quite easy. I say that because I know that's not going to be the experience. I say it hesitantly. I know it's not going to be the experience for everyone.
Sure.
But for me, it works really, really well in, my profession after COVID happened. My profession legalized telehealth. And so
Oh,
then
okay.
there were some issues around licensing before COVID and being able to work remotely in a different country and all those kinds of things. And now all of that stuff for my license has gone away. So it has been really seamless. My practice is really small, and so I don't have a lot of like tasks or things that need to be done with the actual place in Wenatchee. Washington
Yeah,
State.
my uncle lives there.
Really?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. What's his name?
Ramiro Garcia.
Okay,
Ram.
that's like a really common name.
Ram Garcia.
I know Ramiro, but I think he has a
He's an
different
older.
last
He's
name.
probably like in his like late 70s. He's like
Oh my
Probably
gosh, small world. Yeah, I
yeah.
probably don't know. Okay. Yeah. So that's where my practice is based out of.
Okay.
But now, everything is remote. So now I'm running everything online. I don't keep a local office anymore. And it's been good. It's been easy.
And was there any concern or was there any red tape as far as working in Mexico, as far as on the Mexico side, or is it just pretty much your
No,
business
it's
is
everything like legally speaking and tax wise is in the States. Like I
sure?
still
Uh-huh.
have residency there and spend enough time there, and maintain an address there and all of that stuff and pay taxes in the States. So I'm not doing like the transition where I'm like making money in Mexico and then working
Okay.
with all of those systems. So really everything has just stayed the same for me, that in those ways.
And so I know you said you're a therapist, and now do most of your clients, are they from Washington, or are they kind of all over? Are they from
All
Mexico?
All in Washington State. Yeah. So as therapists, we have to be licensed in the state where the client is located.
Okay.
Yes. And so my therapy license is in Washington State. So all of my clients are in Washington State.
Oh, okay. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so since everything is telecommunicating, right? Telecommunicating, is that right?
Telehealth.
Yeah.
Telehealth.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes people may be concerned with like internet connection. So everything's done online. Has everything been pretty smooth? Any issues you've had with that?
Yeah. Everything is smooth now where I currently live. When I was living in San Pancho, that's actually one of the reasons why I had to move because they are they're working on getting things up to speed connection wise. They recently, I think, have installed fiber optics. So I think It's
Okay.
not as much of an issue now. So where I live currently in Nueva Vallarta, and also I know in Puerto Vallarta, I do work there sometimes, and I don't have issues with internet connection. There was one day that somebody accidentally cut a line
Oh,
here
fun.
in the neighborhood. Yeah. So everybody's everything, electricity went out. So then I did lose
Oh.
internet connection. But that wasn't a connectivity issue, that was a worker issue.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know because I think
Yeah.
people do have that concern. People
Work
have,
Yeah.
have to work
remotely.
remotely through internet. So I think people have to take that into consideration. Depending on where they live,
Yeah.
how good the infrastructure is there for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. And honestly, most places I've traveled, it's been it's been super workable, super good.
All right. Okay.
Hmm.
And then the last
Yeah.
questions.
I think I know you transitioned from Puerto Vallarta to Nueva Vallarta. So do you have a Nueva Vallarta expat community, or you have to drive to town to meet other people to hang out?
I have a community here in Nueva Vallarta. Yeah. So in both places, I think I actually have more people that live in Nueva Vallarta and Sayulita, like on this
Mm-hmm.
side of the bridge, than in Puerto Vallarta. So yeah, everybody's super close here.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know one of the very first things we kind of talked about was travel to Mexico. I guess trying to wind up here a little bit. I know you mentioned San Miguel de Allende. You haven't been there yet.
Uh-huh.
Besides
Yeah.
that, do you kind of have a wish list of Mexico places you'd like to travel?
Yeah, I really want to go to Oaxaca. I know
Ah,
everybody
yes.
really wants to go to Oaxaca.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'll go there in October of this year. And then I want to go to San Cristobal. I've also heard
Oh
really
yeah.
good things about there. And there's another place called San Luis Potosí. I don't know if
Hmm.
I'm saying it
That's
right.
about 2 hours from here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to go there. I would actually love to spend more time in Mexico City. I really have only been there for just
Oh,
like passing through a night here and there.
yeah.
But I know so many people who just absolutely rave about it and love it. So I'd love to. You guys like it?
Oh yeah.
What?
Like next.
Mexico City?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've been there about
Yeah.
3 times already. Yeah. We really, really enjoy it.
Oh,
It's
we
just,
need to go back there to explore
Yeah.
more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
fun.
just so much
Yeah.
stuff to do there. I mean, we've been there 3 times. Normally, just I think the first time was a long time. The
Mm-hmm.
last 2 times have been for like a weekend, 3, 4 days, and we've never done the same thing twice. It's just always something new, something new. Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, it's a really cool city.
Yeah.
And what about
Yeah, I want to
Oaxaca?
go for sure.
Are you talking about Oaxaca City or also the beaches there, like Puerto Escondido, or just
Yeah.
Oaxaca City, or both?
All of it. Oaxaca the city and then Puerto Escondido and Zipolite, Mazunte, all those beach towns.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
also I think coming up real quick on our list.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely
decided to
something.
wait until the
Yeah.
weather gets better.
Yeah, true.
It's
Right.
so hot right now.
Sure, it's too hot
Excellent.
right now. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess one of the last things I always like to ask when we're trying to wind down here is, so
Sure.
would you have any kind of parting words or words of wisdom to anybody who may be considering moving to Mexico?
Yeah. What would I say? Um, First of all, I highly recommend it.
Yep.
Um, I think that it is helpful to get plugged in with local people, and to get plugged in with, yeah, people who are in the communities and people who are from Mexico and who really understand the systems and the culture. And, obviously there's a language barrier. And so having some people to help guide you and walk you through some of that stuff is really, 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 really helpful. So I would definitely recommend that. And gosh, what else? Learn the language. I'm still working on it.
That was gonna be my next question back there. Like, yeah, how is your Spanish? How was
Yeah.
it? How is it?
Yeah, it's better than it was.
Sure.
But it is really not good, and it's not something I'm proud of. I just started taking Spanish lessons because it's
Okay.
just to the point that I really want to speak the language because I think that it is like living here, it's so helpful. And I have relied on my friends who speak Spanish and local people to help me translate and get through things. But just to be more independent, I think learning the language is for sure necessary and worth it. And the people are super appreciative of it. So
Yeah, they are.
I definitely recommend like trying to speak Spanish even when you feel like a fool because they actually they really appreciate it.
Right.
So
Are you learning through an app? Are you taking actual like classes with a person?
yeah, I'm taking actual classes online
Online classes.
through a school in Tlaquepaque.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how many hours, how much are you doing a week to kind of
So my
learn?
actual lesson is an hour. And
Okay.
then they're doing like we do podcasts every day. Well, I haven't done it today yet. Podcasts, and then they give you homework to work on like a few days a week. And then I'm encouraging my partner to use Spanish more with me. He's Mexican and
Oh, okay.
so we really should be speaking in Spanish. We just haven't been disciplined about it.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say, yeah, the perfect partner to learn with.
Right.
Yes,
Or,
yes, for
or
sure.
does he enjoy? I think sometimes one of the things we've noticed sometimes is when we meet people who speak English here is, and they meet us, they're like, oh, well, now they have an opportunity to practice their English, so they like to speak English
Yeah.
to you a lot.
Yeah, he does speak English. It's just, I think he would actually really enjoy if I learned Spanish. We just are
Yeah.
like in the habit of speaking English. So, yeah.
No, that's true. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to add in there? Good.
Uh-huh.
Well, Emily, again, we appreciate it. So we know you're on the schedule and stuff, and you got things to do
Yeah.
today. So again, we really do
Yeah.
appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
we
time to join
appreciate
us.
your time.
Yeah,
spending
for
with us.
sure. Yeah, thank you guys. It's been fun.
So if y'all have any questions out there, for us or for Emily, we can get in contact, let us know. We'd appreciate it, and we'll talk to everybody soon. Bye bye.
See ya.
Bye.